Hello, welcome back to the second day of the Transcontinental Race. This is my daily update, so let's head over to the tracker and have a little look to see what's been going on. And as you can see, the riders are slowly starting to spread out. I mean, there's 450 odd riders there, and most riders are pretty much on that northern Spanish coastline. There's the mountains here are surprisingly tough. Obviously, the Basque country is on the sort of the eastern end, and there's some pretty big mountains in here where our parkour is and the checkpoint, and probably eyeballing this, it's probably about half the field is through that checkpoint one now, and then you can see the first kind of major split. Until this point, most riders have pretty much ridden the same route, but as you can see, and we discussed this, I discussed this in the preview and also on the podcast with Becky, that there's either going to be the northern route or maybe the southern route. So heading into France and going on the sort of flatlands on the edge of the Pyrenees here, or going further south in the north of Spain through Vitoria, Pamplona, and then approaching this second parkour section leading to CP2 through over the passes into Spain, or coming up from France. If the riders that are coming up from France, so heading south, I suspect they're not quite there at the moment, but I suspect they'll be heading through on this road here, so through Orléans, Saint-Marie, and then up through sort of Biel, Belestin, these kind of towns. That I suspect they'll then have to do an out and a back on the parkour before picking it up. I think it's the Col du Solo and the Col de Tourmalet before dropping down to the checkpoints. So we'll find out that for sure tomorrow. But as I said, there's two distinctive splits here. It's hard to say at this stage exactly who's kind of definitively in the lead. I mean, we do have some front runners. So the first riders before this big kind of split happened. We've got number 46 here, Nicolas Châtelet. He was the first through the checkpoint. He's been flying along, going exceptionally fast, and he's got a bit of a gap over the pack. We've got Martin Moritz as well. He's again a new name, but yeah, a really solid start. And then a rider that's kind of closed up in the last few hours, Victor Bozzoni. He's probably one of my pre-race favourites, and he seems to have done a really good ride there. And then there's a couple of riders who are looking like they're kind of, it's hard to tell exactly if they're kind of level, but the out and back will probably gain them sort of a minimum half hour, maybe even an hour on this section here, but they do have to climb up over the Pyrenees first to get there. So we have Wiert Fiedler, so he was third through the first checkpoint, and Christoph Pernstein at fourth. So essentially the first four riders through the checkpoints, they're split 50-50 north and south of the Pyrenees. So yeah, that's going to be pretty interesting to see which ends up being the faster route. Now, before I do go any further, I do have a sponsor for this coverage. As you probably know if you watched yesterday, Pock, they do really good cycling helmets and glasses. I've been using them for a number of years. The helmet I used last year when I started the TCR, I only got a few days in before my body just gave up on me. Swollen knees was the main issue there. But I ran this Cytel carbon helmet. Now this is a kind of like semi-aero helmet. The speeds on the road that you do on TCR nowadays, they can probably justify wearing something slightly more aero. If you look at some of the faster guys out the front, they're pretty much pared down, some of them on aero bikes, some of them in skin suits, certainly kind of very tight fitting clothing and semi-aero helmets. So this is the choice I made, the Cytel carbon. Got a really cool carbon wing in there. They also do a slightly less expensive, because that is pretty expensive, the standard Cytel helmet, which is a 5-star on the Virginia Tech helmet testing. This is a non-carbon version. I think it's like 20 grams heavier than the carbon version. So to be honest, this is the one you really need to be buying, unless you really want to spend money just to say you've got a carbon one. But yeah, a few riders out there running this. So yeah, definitely recommend for this kind of riding. So yeah, a big thank you to Pock. And of course, they've given us a 20% discount for all viewers and listeners on the podcast. I'll put the link on screen or in the description down below. So yeah, check out Pock. And yeah, big thank you for all the support. So let's get back to this kind of the tracker. So I've touched on the real head of the race. Another interesting kind of observation is that the leading 3 or 4 women, they've all chosen that southern route out of the checkpoint. Now, I'm not particularly sure why that is. It might just be a coincidence. But you can see Jana Kessenheimer, she's still leading, but Cynthia Carson seems to have closed down quite a bit. She was behind Leah Wilcox when I did the report yesterday. But yeah, she's a really strong rider, and she seems to have made some pretty solid ground. So yeah, basically she's the other side of Vittoria. So basically, yeah, in TCR terms at this stage, neck and neck with Jana. Leo's a little bit back behind in third, but again, at this point, it's essentially they're all together as one pack. And then who have we got hiding in here? We've got Sarah Buslet. So she's not that far back either. As I said, the TCR is a long race. It's probably going to be at least 8 days this year, I think, probably even 9 for the leaders. So 10 for most people at a minimum for this sort of front pack. So yeah, it looks like we're going to have a really close and tight women's race. So essentially neck and neck as we speak. Obviously, I've highlighted these front 5 men as well. But there's some pretty key names who I think we should be looking at. As I said, it's a long way, and some of these riders, guaranteed, some of these guys in the top 5 have gone out way too hard. Absolutely guaranteed it. Some of them are going to spectacularly crack, or at least drift back as the race goes on. And I think you only need to look at these 2 riders here. So Christoph Strasser and Justina Slovakia, they've ended up together. So, I mean, that tells you something. Christoph Strasser, he's won the Transcontinental Race twice before and came second last year. Justina Slovakia, he's set the record on the Tour Divide. He's been second on the Tour Divide. He's won pretty much every other race going. There's not many that he hasn't won or certainly podiumed in. So I think this is the true marker for a pretty solid pace, and they're not that far behind in the grand scheme of things as well. So yeah, pretty tight racing at the front there. For me, I don't really think that we can really look at this tracker and see some like solid patterns until the ride of the through Parkour 3. So I head over to Ride with GPS. You may remember if you've seen the preview, Parkour 3 is the Strada de Azietta, the dirt road high up in the Alps here. So that's going to be another couple of days, and it's going to be sort of four-ish days, I guess, for the leaders. And I think then we'll start to see the people that have gone out too hard, whether they start to fade or they need a big night in a hotel. So yeah, for me, that's going to be a bit of a, we can't really talk too much about a solid pecking order in these first few days. A bit more focus on the actual parkour coming up. So I'll see if I can find it for you. I think it's this one here. So we have the Col de Tourmalet. Obviously that's the top of the parkour, and the checkpoint or control point just down the bottom here, Hotel de Chalet. So riders essentially have to ride the Tourmalet. I think it's a Col de Souloir, and there is another col in there as well. I can't remember the name of it as we speak. So yeah, essentially it's a bit of a climb fest. The Aubisque, Col de Aubisque, Col de Souloir, and the Tourmalet, 3 absolute giants of the Tour de France. And this is the section here that I was talking about. So if the riders come from the south, I'll see if I can get the elevation. So they're going to have to climb up a little bit before dropping back down to start the parkour. So yeah, there's plenty to keep an eye on over the next next night. I suspect the first riders are going to be at the checkpoint pretty late tonight. Although that's going to be a hell of a ride. Whether they stop early, it's 9:30 now, so it'll be 10:30 in European time. I do wonder if maybe some of them have kind of earmarked a little hotel or something, or somewhere to stay at the bottom of the parkour. That would probably be the sensible thing to do. Maybe these southern riders are going to try and get to Jaca, and then tackle the climbs fresh in the morning. That would probably be a more sensible approach to taking on such a mountainous parkour section. So that is pretty much what I make of the race at the moment. We'll just check the band road map. There's not too much to worry about. That road to Jaca, which I imagine a couple of the riders will follow, has got some warnings on. It's not banned as such by the race, but it's just got a caution. So I think basically it's probably meant a lot of people are focusing on that northern route just for safety really, and distance and time wise it's probably not much in it. So that's the banned roads. And now I will do a bit of a roundup of the social media. So as always, the TCR Transcontinental Race Instagram page is absolutely full of pretty amazing photos. They have a team of really good photographers on the race. They've also got their own podcast, so I'd recommend giving that a listen, because obviously I'm doing all this from afar, using my sort of experience and observations and, you know, things I know about people to give my perspective, but I'm not on the ground. So you'll definitely probably get some pretty good insights from listening to that podcast and reading the reports on their website. But a few posts that caught my eye. This was the first one. So this was from the first checkpoint. So I'll just read out for the benefit of those of you who might be listening on the podcast. So the first riders have reached control point 1 in the Picos d'Europa. Nicolas Châtelet was first to arrive at 1951. Breathless from the brutal climb with the exceptional views, the Frenchman could hardly curse the organisers for his elevated heart rate. Perched among the jagged peaks, the CP is an old stone house with little on offer, just a water tap, a brevet stamp, and a warm welcome from volunteers. The climb to reach it is a relentless string of hairpins raising straight from the valley floor. Now that tells me two things. One, is Nicholas going too hard? Has he really attacked that climb? Is he overgeared, or is it just brutal for everyone? Those hard efforts do catch up with you. It could be that some riders with slightly easier gears might have a better time. I know Justinus is running like a 44 chainring. So pretty small for a road race on a super aero bike like Justinus is riding. So I wonder if that's paying off with those easier gears. And also this could catch people out. You know, it's a little on offer, just a water tap and a brevet stamp. Some people really do rely on these checkpoints and they think they're going to get a meal or food. So some people might get pretty upset when they realise there's just a tap. But that's part of the race. So close behind Nicholas was Martin Moritz, surprised by his own race position. When asked which way he'd head next, he simply said gravel. An hour later, Wiert Vilder arrived, also not expecting to be in the front. He joked that he was in need of a new set of knees after the punishing gradient. So there's a couple of guys there that have found themselves at the front of the race. I do wonder, if that means they may have gone too hard. I guess time will tell. We'll see as the race goes on. And just looking at these photos, I mean, when I first went through this area, I was pretty, blown away by the scale of the mountains. I just wasn't expecting it. So that was CP1, and obviously these are the first few riders, and if the first few riders are finding it difficult, you just have to think of the mid-pack and everyone else as they will be suffering for sure. So next up, this is just a little story that Lael Wilcox put up on her feed. So let's hear what Lael has to say.
I'm 45 hours into the Transcontinental, and I've ridden 500 miles and climbed 34,000 feet, and it's been really nice and humid, and everything's going great. Feeling fresh. Had a great sleep last night, and just in this really beautiful green zone in Spain, in Asturias, and really nice quiet road, so it's fun.
So yeah, really great to hear from Lael there. And as you can see, this is kind of the mountains, super green, obviously on that north kind of Atlantic coastline. So plenty of rain. And just a bit of background for Lael as well. She ended up scratching the Tour Divide with breathing issues, and she quite often suffers with really bad chest and unable to breathe, kind of like asthma type symptoms when it's really hot and really dry. So she's going to be loving this, and I don't think we've seen the best of Lael certainly in these shorter. I say shorter, I mean in the grand scheme of her being the round the world record holder for women. She's not really managed to put together a really strong shorter race like this, kind of 10 days or so. So hopefully these conditions will allow her to really sort of perform super well. So yeah, look forward to hearing from Lael as the race develops. This is just some stuff from Victor Bozzoni. So obviously you found Justinus on the road there. Justinus looking nice and aero. Victor pretty aero himself as well. Both obviously fantastic riders. Looking forward to seeing how they both go as this race develops. And yeah, just some of the photography. And you can see here Victor talking a bit about tech, aero. It's just, you've got to be aero now for the Transcontinental Race, in my opinion. He's got the textured sleeves on his jersey. That helps kind of aerodynamics. So if you think of a golf ball and the dimples, they cause like a bit of a layer of energized air over the ball as it flies through the air, which makes it go faster. It's the same thing with cycling. You watch the the Tour de France has just been on. You'll see these little pinstripes everywhere on and little ridges on kit, on socks. That's for aerodynamics. So you can see Victor's is looking nice in aero, and is pretty lightweight too. He's absolutely flies on the climb, and this was him. Looks like a dot watcher. Caught him flying by. So yeah, nice little tag position. And you don't stop for dot watchers on the TCR. You're going far too fast. So yeah, good to see from Victor. Another rider, Martin. Obviously, he's just about in second place at the moment. Some nice photos. Obviously, got someone doing the social media for him. So hello if you're there. Some nice views of the coastline.
Guten Abend von den Picos de Europa. Es ist unendlich schön hier. Aber schaut selber.
Just saying how beautiful it is. And you can see, like I said, it's absolutely breathtaking.
Ich war jetzt gerade beim Checkpoint 1 und bin auf der Gravel-Abkürzung am Weg zum Checkpoint, zum Parcours 1.
So yeah, he took the gravel, and incidentally, in the preview and the podcast, I did sort of say that potentially maybe some people would turn around and go back around on the tarmac and then climb and descend the checkpoint, to avoid the gravel. It looks like no one has done that so far, really. Certainly not at the front of the race. So everyone has taken that gravel, which is good to see. And yeah, that looks like the road there. So just it's pretty spectacular and beautiful. So yeah, nice little updates there from Martin. So I'll be keeping an eye on him. And then we've got Jana. Obviously, she's currently just about in the lead of the women's race. And again, yeah, the views seem to be just taking everyone by, just by awe, really. It looks absolutely beautiful. And very green as well. But when it's green, it means it rains a bit. So I'm sure there's been plenty of showers on the first 48 hours or so of this race. This is Nicholas, who's leading. He's got some videos, but I'm just waiting for a couple of translations because my French isn't that good. But I just thought I'd pick up on what he's riding. So he's riding this super, super fast aero bike. This is the Cervelo. I think it's the S5. Looks like he might have a dynamo hub on there and lights. But yeah, not much kit. So basically a saddle bag, a long top tube bag, and not much else. So I doubt he's got much in the way of camping gear there. I think the fastest way now to do a TCR is pretty much stay in hotels as much as you can. But yeah, definitely looking fast. Looks like he's got a full-size chain set on there, double. And also, interestingly, he also just did a bit of a layup of all the stuff he started with. And you can see he's not got much with him, apart from food, a lot of food. So it's all this SIS beta fuel, which is super, super high carbohydrate stuff. So I doubt he's stopped very much. However, I reckon, I don't know, we should do a sweepstake. How long before we catch him eating a Big Mac in McDonald's on the tracker? Because there's only so long you can sustain on this sugary stuff without it absolutely turning your stomach inside out. I reckon probably day 3 in France is going to crack and hit the McDonald's. So we'll find out. And then finally, we've got some nice little updates. I think it's Anna, isn't it, who lives on the north there. She's seen some of the riders coming through. So this was Justinus earlier today.
Justinus! Animo! Venga!
Flying by. Look where you're going, Justinus. Christoph as well. Again, interestingly, he's... she says he's carried half the local fuel station in his jersey pocket. So yeah, he's on the biscuits already, the Milka biscuits. That's kind of that's a bit of a. I think anyone who's done an ultra has gone through endless packets of those kind of things. Who else is that? Not sure. I can't remember who that is there. So yeah, plenty of riders out there. So yeah, really cool to see that from Anna. So yeah, I think that is pretty much everything for tonight. I'll keep an eye on the tracker tomorrow, and I'll bring you another one probably a little bit earlier tomorrow because I want to go and ride the Club 10. So yeah, catch you again for another one tomorrow. Thanks for watching and listening.